What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Week 18, cashing points. Happy New Year, everybody. I suppose it's too late. Larry David would say it's too late to say Happy New Year, but it's the first time seeing you guys. What's going on? Friday, week 18, cashing points is here. Actually, not sure. Scott, what's the plan for the show during the playoffs? What are we doing for cashing points? I haven't spoken to you about this.
Yeah, it's going to be you, me, and Jake, I think.
Sick. All right, cool. So we'll have that at least for wild card and divisional round. As always, Early Bird is still on. If you have not resubscribed for 2024, please do so. We are 20% off for the season. Make sure you're getting on that. And if you're watching on X, welcome. But if you over to YouTube, we can see your comments better over there, and we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. Boys, week 18. I always love week 18. It's weird. There's always a ton of news to track, and I feel like that's what gives us an edge. Scott, what's going on, man? How are you feeling about this week?
Yeah, so I really don't like this slate. I know some of our subs were talking about just like firing the entirety of what's left in the account into this week. I wouldn't do that. I would go light this week. I think next week's slate is going to give us a bigger edge. I know Darren disagrees, by the way, but I'm seeing a lot of guys who are in play, but not a ton of standout plays. And then among the names who are in play, there's like these unknown variables, which can cause massive swings to a player's projection. I think it's a great week for cash, small field, single entries. I think, honestly, this is a week to kind of prioritize Johnny's advice and analysis over my own. This is, such a Johnny week where it's a lot of intuition and game theory and news and preseason stuff where he typically dominates. So I know no one likes to hear that. Not a great way to start off the show, but that's kind of my vibe right now.
Yeah, there have been better week 18 slates, that's for sure. Darren, you and I were speaking earlier this week. Last season we had a really low scoring week 18 slate. This is projected to be a really low.
Graham just froze up. So Darren, yeah, how are you feeling about this slate?
I like it. There's so many names on this slate that we'll get into that I followed all summer long and who are good players that people don't know about. And preseason, this is like a preseason S to me, and I know what players are actually good and which ones aren't very good. And I really spent the last couple of days digging in preseason, like looking at some different things, trends, and things of that sort. So we'll get into that when it comes to it. But I like it. I think there's some plays that I'm just so confused why the ownership is so low, actually. So I made a ton of notes today, so I'm looking forward to this slate, actually.
Yeah, I mean, on this slate, Rams 49ers is like the ultimate preseason game, right? But then there's some other games that are just like straight up. Yeah, I guess we lost Graham. All right. I guess we can dive into it, and hopefully Graham will join us in a little bit. We can start off with Tampa Bay, Carolina. I was hoping to have Graham because his start sit article was excellent, breaking down the motivations for each team. This is a game that Tampa Bay is trying to win. Baker Mayfield, I think, is questionable, but probably likely to play. I'll be honest, who stands out to me from this game? I think Rachaad White is fine. It's a great matchup on paper. He has been losing a little bit of work lately to, I guess, Chase Edmonds, but not a terribly large amount. And otherwise, he's just been one of the most consistent players in fantasy, finishing top 13 at the position, I think, in 10 of his last 11 games, something like that. And then Mike Evans versus Chris Godwin is a decision. Carolina has been really tough against wide receivers all year, but they're a little bit soft. They're like a lead against the slot, a little bit softer to the perimeter. It is a great schematic matchup for Mike Evans, who's just been on fire. Argument for Chris Godwin is just like insane volume the last 4 weeks, but still, to me at least, pretty easily prefer Evans. So I think he's a good contrarian GPP play. He's not really getting a ton of ownership. Rashad White is fine. And then on the opposite side, I did write up Chuba Hubbard. I did write up DJ Chark, but neither I'm all too excited in. Darren, what are your thoughts on this game?
It's a must-win game, so all out. So I'm just confused why White's only 9% owned. I think some of that work he's lost is probably game script. I think they're gonna, run him. That's where they're most vulnerable is on the ground. But I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, I've looked into it. Do you want to hear Mike Evans' last 7 games against the Panthers? 32 points, 51 points, 19 points, 27 points, 20 points, 26, and 21. That's his last 7 games against the Panthers. In a must-win game, 5% owned, he's got as much the ceiling as anybody else on the slate. Obviously, he's had a 50-point game at 5% owned. Yes, please. I love him this week. But that, as far as that goes, I'm not going to have any comebacks on Carolina. I'm not going to force anything. I'm not sure how Baker I have. I might just do one off with Evans. And I'm okay playing White and Evans in the same lineup also. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. So on Mike Evans versus Carolina, Carolina has been great against wide receivers this season, but it wasn't at all surprising to me that Mike Evans smashed them earlier in the year. Carolina plays cover 3 on 50% of their defensive snaps, far and away the most. And if you look at Evans versus the teams ranking top 10 in rated cover 3, he's just destroyed all of them. So really like that coverage shell matchup for him. Good to hear that sort of extends beyond just a 1-season sample. For whatever reason, just dominant against Carolina. Graham, what are your thoughts on this game? Any true standouts to you?
Yeah, Mike Evans and Rashad White. I think Rashad White's the best running back play on the slate, especially at this ownership.
The best running back. Okay.
Yeah. I think he should. He projects as the best. I mean, this is a smash spot. You and I were speaking about this in DMs this week. I think a lot of his usage last week was just game script. I mean, that offense was bad. Mayfield was bad. They're down 20-0 in the middle of the fourth quarter. I think Rashad's just a really, really strong play. And I'm with Darren for all the same reasons he laid out, especially at this ownership. Mike Evans makes a ton of sense. I will say Chris Godwin, though, this is not like a fluke. They're just getting him the ball way more. They finally rediscovered that Chris Godwin is really, really good at football too. I don't have anything else on the Panthers side. I think you said it when I came back that Chuba Hubbard's like moderately in play. He's fine, but that's really kind of it.
Yeah, I don't mind Chark either with Jonathan Mingo out.
He's so bad. Chark is so bad, dude. He had. Do you see how many air yards? Do you see how many air yards he had last week? It was insane.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is he scored 27.8 fantasy points 2 weeks ago. Then he had a team high 6 targets. Jonathan Mingo, he's doing nothing with his production, but he gets 6 targets per game. It's a top 5 matchup on paper. So, I don't think anyone's going to play him. He's 3,700. Like we're going to be talking about Ronnie Bell and plays like that. And I don't think Chark is much worse than that. But yeah, if you read my article, you'll see, I'll probably bump up Rashad White based on your recommendation. Evans will be a little high, but everyone else is going to be buried at the bottom of the article.
Yeah. I mean, Thielen's been dust. Chark is like, he's so bad though. God, man, he had 2 awful drops last week. He's had awful drops all year. All right, you guys want to move on? You guys just talk Bucs, Panthers, I'm gonna assume.
Yeah.
Let's get some of the worst games out of the way as quick as possible here. Jets, Patriots. Game has the lowest over on the slate at 30.5. Patriots have been 1.5 point favorites all week. This spread really hasn't moved. I'll be honest, I don't have a whole lot here, Darren. What do you think about this game? And I mean, Zeke is, I guess, in play again at 5,900, but that receiving role kind of fell off the face of the earth a little bit last week. Brees is rolling hot, but Jets are a dead team. This is a dead game. What do you think, man?
Only one play to play in this game, and it's the Patriots defense. This is going to be Bill Belichick's last game as a coach. I think the team are going to play for him. They're at home, and they have actually destroyed the Jets fantasy wise over the last couple of years. They're averaging around 15, 16 points over the last 13 games against the Jets. The highest being a 25-point game and the lowest being an 8. Um, Ownership isn't that bad either, but this is a team motivation, one for the kipper type thing for the coach, and so much he's done for that organization. As much as we've hated Belichick in the past. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Hats off to him. But I think they're going to be my highest owned defense. It's not even going to be close.
Yeah, nice. You have any interest in Zeke?
Nope.
Yeah.
Last game, old running back with the running backs we have on the slate, 30-point over on the spread. No thanks.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Scott, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I like Zeke. I think he's cash viable. You just look at that 88% snap share, the target volume he's getting. So I think he's fine. If you want to question his tournament winning upside, I think that's more than fair. I also like Breece Hall quite a bit. Over the last 2 weeks, 16.5 carries, 12.5 targets, 160 yards from scrimmage per game. Since week 8, he has more targets than Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Chris Olave, more receiving yards than Kupp, Diggs, Travis Kelce. And so that excites me. I get the concerns with the matchup and all that, but hard to deny just how insanely hot he's been running and the volume he's been getting.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even think the matchup matters all that much. I mean, Patriots have been shutting run games down, but I mean, you get 23 targets in 2 games. I mean, that's always going to keep you in play for sure. What are you about to say, Darren?
Yeah, they're top. Yeah, Patriots are top 5 the last 6 weeks in yards allowed, top 5 in points against allowed, and top 5 adjusted points allowed. So they're the number 1 run defense on the entire slate, and I just think this is other running backs better than Breece. He's gonna have to bust a long one to be viable for me.
Yeah, they are vulnerable to pass catching backs, and that's kind of scheme stubbornness to Belichick. That's kind of held consistent for a number of years. So Breeze does have that, and like I said, just insane production as a receiver these past few weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to just fade this whole game, I totally get it.
Yeah, I kind of think we might see some more Izzy and Abandoconda in this game too. He got 9 carries 2 weeks ago, ran 14 routes, got 7 targets last week. It makes some sense to get him a little mixed in there too, just see what they have for next season, see if he can be their number 2 after cutting Dalvin Cook as well. I'll just note Jeremy Ruckert is going to miss another game, so Tyler Conklin will be in that role. Who cares? Patriots side, though, this might be really condensed just in their pass game. If you're just betting, whatever, I'll just note for this game. Pharaoh Brown looks like he's going to miss. I think Hunter Henry's going to miss this game too. He's out. So it'll be all Demario Douglas and Mike Gesicki in this spot. We will keep it moving though. Browns and Bengals. Browns are locked into the 5 seed, and they're going to rest a lot of dudes. They're going to rest Flacco. They're going to rest Myles Garrett. Amari Cooper won't play. Elijah Moore's in concussion protocol. This spread was 5.5 on Tuesday morning, and it jumped to 7 after Browns announced they're going to start Jeff Driscoll and not PJ Walker. We're going to see a lot of Cedric Tillman and Harrison Bryant and Pierre Strong. Scott, Pierre Strong is stone min on DK, 4K. I think he's going to end up projecting really well when everybody kind of gets their stuff updated if they haven't already. What do you think about Strong and all these super cheap Browns guys, man? I mean, Cedric Tillman's 3,700. Harrison Bryant's 2,500. We've got a bunch of 2,500 tight ends to get through. What do you think about this game, man?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance we see Strong in a bell cow workload. Hopefully Sunday morning we get news like Kareem Hunt, who's been old and dealing with injury, is inactive, and Jerome Ford's inactive. Something like that. That would be great because this is a valuable backfield. Cleveland's running backs rank top 3 in touches per game collectively. We know this is a run-heavy offense when it's not Joe Flacco at quarterback. I think Jeff Driscoll is a little bit interesting. Just absolute stone minimum price tag on DraftKings. He averages 18.3 fantasy points per game, 41.3 rushing yards per game over his last 4 games he started and finished. Cincinnati's defense has really struggled in recent weeks. Again, he's playing with backups. He's a backup. He's not very good, but he's worth mentioning. Harrison Bryant, yeah, he's fine. Cedric Tillman, he's in play. But none of those guys are going to be too high on my list. But yeah, would fit with a Driscoll stack if you wanted to go that route. I think the Bengals side is kind of being slept on this week. I think there's definitely some interesting plays. Unless I'm missing something, Joe Mixon looks like he could be one of the best plays of the slate. Ranks second in XFP per game since week 13. Across the full season, ranks fourth in XFP per game and wins. And so up against a bunch of backups. Obviously, the concern is, does Cincinnati want to get an extended look at Chase Brown? But assuming if not, he's a great play and only 3% owned this week.
Mute.
Oh boy, you're muted.
Oh God, look what I've done. Look what I've done. Look what you've done to me, Scott. You've broken me. You've broken me. No, bro, I was just going to say, I think Mixon's the hardest play to figure out on, not just in this game, but maybe in the slate, because I've kind of went into this game thinking, they'll get a bigger look at Chase Brown. They're completely dead. But it's interesting, especially at this ownership, and hearing your confidence is interesting. The other thing too is Bengals are 0-5 against divisional opponents this season. Zach Taylor does not want to go 0-6. I think it would make some sense, especially for Chase to play. Chase is such a gamer, but Mixon, I think, is the toughest one to figure out in this game. What do you think about Mixon here, Darren?
I'm not really on Mixon this week, but
Okay.
I'm on all the pass catchers on actually both sides of the ball. Bengals have been bottom 10 against outside, or bottom 5 against the slot. So I really like Tillman quite a bit. I think he's going to lean on him, and I really like Harrison Bryant. He's a preseason guy of mine, big white running back. Tight end. Sorry, we got another one coming up that we'll talk about later, who I really like. He's had 3 end zone targets this week. Aiken's the other tight end, so I guess he'll be active. He hasn't had any. He's more like a blocking type back as far as that goes. Higgins being ruled out. I think Chase is going to get fed. His ownership isn't that high. It's 10%, 10%, 7,300. So you can get different as far as playing him. He's playing backups, guys. He's playing backup Browns receivers and the Browns are already bad. It's lately the last 6 weeks against the back and then the slot, and Chase runs all over the place. So I think Chase is a really strong GPP play. I'm not a cash guy, so you guys can comment on that. But I'm on Tillman, Bryant, and then Chase, my favorite plays on this game.
Yeah, Chase is pretty cheap. He's 7,300. Going to be sub 10% owned. No T Higgins. I think that's really important. Over the last 2 seasons, Chase averages 11.6 targets, 25.5 DraftKings fantasy points per game, and games Higgins played on fewer than 33% of the team snaps, up against Cleveland's backups. I think he's an awesome play. I really don't think. Jefferson's the cash play, but when you're looking at ownership, the difference between them, I think, is negligible.
Yeah, the one thing I like in this game here too is Browning. I like Browning with Chase, with some pure strong as a bring back. Scott, I'm a little surprised you're not more into Harrison Bryant. Maybe you're into more into Noah Gray or something.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of those guys. Davis Allen's in play too, and I'll be honest, none of them really stand out. I just know they just grade.
Yeah, they project very, very similarly. That's for sure.
The Bengals have been the last. They've bottom 4 last 6 weeks against tight ends and fantasy points allowed. Now you got a $2,500 pass catching tight end and Bryant at stone min.
Yeah.
So and he's gonna, the backup quarterback's gonna lean on him for a safety blanket.
Right. They have no one else. That's a function of Lou and Arumo's scheme as well. So that's something we know is real.
Function of scheme, and it's also their linebackers are slow as shit too. They have some of the slowest guys in the middle of the field. Driscoll hasn't made a start since 2020. I just want to note that he could be absolute ass in this game and just completely nuke it. That's my big concern in this game is Driscoll's just not functional.
I got one super sleeper. I'm pretty sure he just got added from the practice squad. It's our preseason superstar Austin Watkins, USFL XFL star guy is an absolute stud. If he is one of the starters, look for that one. Look for that news at 11:30. If he's named like the number 3, I'm gonna have some Austin Martins this week for
Yeah,
sure.
I'd like to remind everyone that Darren's
Zero at 0% ownership. What'd you say, Scott?
I'd like to remind everyone that Darren's an MME player, 150 lineup guy. I'll say I think he's too thin. That's sometimes a mistake with these slates, is going a little too into the preseason weeds.
I'm gonna have 2%.
Could
maybe,
be, yeah,
maybe
right,
one.
right.
Yeah. All right, that'll cover this game, I think, here, boys. Let's keep it moving. Vikings at Lions. Lions are getting 3.5. That's obviously stinky. Lions got screwed last week by the refs. They should be like inside track for the 2 seed, but they're basically locked into the 3. The only way Detroit can get to the 2 seed now is if Dallas and Philly both lose. It's very, very low probability, like 1%. That happens. So real chance we see at some point in this game Dan Campbell pull starters. But, it's Dan Campbell. He said he wants to play our guys. I'm just saying 3.5 Lions is really stinky. I mean, this line was 3 when the Lions were on the road in Minnesota. It would probably be 6.5, I think, if we knew, at least 6.5 if we knew Goff and all those guys were playing. But that being said, yeah, Justin Jefferson, man, one of the best plays on the slate on the Viking side. Everybody's going to be on it, though. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be massively chalk, Darren. But where do we have Justin Jefferson in your ownership projections here? It's got to be like right behind him.
Yeah, I got Lamb around 33, and then I got Jefferson around 28 right now.
Yeah,
and that might climb will probably climb with even more value, just opening up over the weekend with more news drops. Especially
it's going to be, dude. It's going to be so easy to get to Jefferson and Lamb, one of them on every lineup. Yeah, I mean, if you just wanted to make that a rule and just say, I want to have one of those guys on every team, it would make some sense. Scott, I'll let you talk more about Jefferson and this game in general, but what do you think about Lions real quick? Because I think that's the trickiest thing to figure out. Do you think they play Goff? Do you think they play their guys?
I have no idea. There's a lot of these uncertain situations. I will say I feel more comfortable playing Lions players than I do Eagles players and some of these other teams where there's a good amount of uncertainty. I like the idea of leaning into that by playing a Goff stack at like 2% ownership, because if we knew they were going to play all 4 quarters, he would be one of the better plays this slate at home. He's a top 5 fantasy quarterback at home, maybe even like top 3 on this slate. Amon-Ra St. Brown, nuts matchup. Blitz heavy. Vikings very vulnerable to slot wide receivers. We saw St. Brown smash in this matchup just a few weeks ago. Jahmyr Gibbs is in play. I had a crazy stat. I think he's finished top 3 at the position in fantasy points in like half of his last 8 games.
Yeah, he's on an absolute heater, dude. This reminds me of Alvin Kamara. Just like way out producing his volume, and he's just like a freaking baller every time the ball's in his hands.
I think you can still play St. Brown as a one-off.
Yeah.
I will say I did lead off at the top that I think this is a better week for small field single entry, but he would be a really strong or a fine large field tournament play, because honestly, like, he can get there in just a half of football. Obviously still not ideal, but it wouldn't shock me if Dan Campbell just did the donkey thing and he's like, I'm a football guy. We're going to play our starters all 4 quarters. I think it's stupid. I don't think you should do that, but like, it wouldn't shock me if that's what he does. And so that's kind of how I'm viewing it. I think regardless, Nick Mullins is the cash quarterback of the week. I think even if Detroit's starters get pulled, I wouldn't really too much about them being pushed. This is just like one of the most pass heavy offenses in football. It's also like one of the most productive. Vikings quarterbacks combined for the 3rd most games of at least 22.5 or 19.9 DraftKings fantasy points, which is crazy considering how poorly Josh Dobbs played at the end of his stretch, how poorly Mullins has played. Jaron Hall had a few starts in that mix. And so I think he's a great play based on that. He's also done well in his 2 starts. Justin Jefferson is obviously one of the better plays of the slate. there's some debate between him and CeeDee Lamb. I do prefer CeeDee Lamb. I will have a number of lineups with both. But basically, no TJ Hawkinson should help the target volume, and Mullins was already locking on to Jefferson on 27% of his throws. Detroit is giving up the third most fantasy points per game to wide receiver ones. Jefferson smashed in this matchup 2 weeks ago. It's a dome game. So yeah, great play. Justin Jefferson. Addison, I think, is also in play. Favorable matchup. No TJ Hawkinson, like I said. Johnny Munt is also in play. Something like an 88% route share last week. No TJ Hawkinson. 3K, so not minimum price, but did have 4 catches, 39 yards, and a score last week. Mullins has been peppering tight ends this year. He's not peppering Jordan Addison, but Addison has been insanely efficient on a per target basis with Mullins. So yeah, a dub stack any way you want to go there, I think is fine. And all those guys are great plays.
Yeah, I think Addison's one of the best tournament plays on the slate. Lions have been absolutely hammered by opposing wide receivers. I mean, since week 10, they're giving up 38.5 half-point PPR points per game to receivers. Jefferson's really strong, and you nailed it. Mullins is the cash quarterback. It's interesting. Jaren Hall is actually demoted to third string, so it'll be Dobbs backing up Mullins if Mullins, tanks and gets benched again. Obviously, that's the downside with him, but for all the reasons Scott outlined, great matchup. Mullins is a really, really strong play this week. Really, really strong play. I just wish we knew on Lions side. Really do. Hopefully we'll get some news before lock. I will say Vikings are going to be without Byron Murphy and Mekhi Blackman. Both starting corners are going to miss this game. So if we do get a full game of Amon-Ra, man, this is just an absolute home run spot. All right, we'll keep it moving. Jags at Titans. Jags are getting 4. This actually moved from 5.5 down to 4. Total's been around 40.5 all week. Jacksonville obviously controls their playoff chances here. They can back into a wild card as the 7 seed with some help. Titans obviously have been dead. They're going to get Ryan Tannehill back under center here. Will Levis is questionable, but he will not start, according to Vrabel. Vrabel is always, he's like mini Mike Tomlin. He always gets his guys to compete. And I think Titans are going to play a really tight game here at home against the Jags, trying to keep the Jags out of the playoffs. If I knew Trevor Lawrence were healthy, I think Calvin Ridley would be one of the best plays on this slate. But Scott, we get Stone Men potentially. Christian Kirk, 3K coming back off of IR. Jags have just been slaughtered by injuries this season. It's tough to get a real good read on them, but they are healthy. Zay Jones is going to play, Lawrence is going to play, and it seems like they might get Christian Kirk back. Scott, what do you think about Jags here?
Well, Lawrence is a true game time decision, right?
He is, but I think he's going to play.
Right. Must-win game.
He's going to play.
So Kirk, assuming he plays, even if we don't know if he's fully healthy or limited to a snap count, and the Titans are a reverse slot funnel, I really think none of that matters when he's 2,800 cheaper than he was the last time we saw him in the field, which makes him a free square. Easily the best play of the slate if he suits up. He's going to be massive owned. So to me, that makes Calvin Ridley one of the best GPP plays of the slate. Really excited to play him. I get that Lawrence has looked like shit. He's battling like 3 different injuries, but the volume has been insane for him over the last 4 weeks. Ranks 3rd in air yards, 3rd in targets, and the matchup's great. Titans are giving up a league high 135 receiving yards per game to outside wide receivers. Ridley tagged them for a season high 34.1 DK fantasy points the last time they faced off. And then Evan Ingram as well pops as a value. Since week 13, leads all tight ends in targets, ranks 2nd in receiving yards, 2nd in XFP per game, 1st in fantasy points per game, or among wide receivers, 5th, 14th, 19th, 9th, priced as the tight end 5, wide receiver 30. Just an extreme value there, regardless of whether or not Christian Kirk suits up. And so, yeah, I like all 3 of these guys as really strong values, which makes me consider a gal-brained Trevor Lawrence DFS play, which I don't think is terrible just because of the value and upside there. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
That might be the first time I've ever heard you mention Trevor Lawrence's name positively, and he's coming off of 5 injuries.
Right.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
1% owned. 1% owned.
Well, bro, that's what I wanted to ask you because I know you and I were going to be on Ridley. I knew you and I were going to be on ETN too. Jags got Cam Robinson back. I had to ask, like, is Lawrence in play? And I think at 6,800, no one is going to play him. We're going to see Dak get ownership. We'll see Justin Fields get a lot of ownership too. I think Lawrence is really, really interesting for the same reasons. The problem is, like, Titans bringing it back it's gross, man. Like, Hopkins is just like keeps getting, some volume, getting the targets downfield, but the ceiling has just not been great this season. He's 6,100. He's really like the only logical bring back Darren I have from this game. Chig has no ceiling. Derrick Henry's toast as a road or underdog here. What do you think about Titans?
Well, Hopkins gets 7 catches, he gets $250,000. So that's an incentive right there. If you guys didn't see that,
2 touchdowns for another quarter, 49 yards for another quarter.
I think it's 39 yards for another quarter. Yeah. So,
okay. I mean, the matchup is good as another pass funnel, but the thing is, it's a slow game. And while researching this game, and I thought this was wild. I mean, I'm a Titans fan. So week 18 last year, Titans weren't even in it at all. Week 18, the game didn't mean anything. You know how many carries Derrick Henry got in week 18 last year?
Oh, God.
30.
Yeah.
30 carries.
I remember that game. Yeah.
No touchdowns, 30 carries for 106 yards, no touchdowns. So this is his, another swan song thing. I know he hasn't looked great, but this is a really good matchup. Jags have been awful, bottom 5. I think he knows this is his last game. The city knows his last game. I think they're going to feed him. I think he's a great GPP play. He's going to be like 1% owned. I'm going to go like 5 or 6% just to have a little bit of him. He's got that 2-3 touchdown upside. And he's going to, wave his helmet to the crowd, and it'll be the Spear show next year. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
I was thinking about going the opposite way with it, where game script kind of hints at it being a Tajay Spears game anyway, and then there's the chance that they just feature him because they want to see what they have in him before the head to free agency is like, hey, maybe he could be our bell cow.
He will be.
But I think either way that we're talking, gal brained. Low percentage play if you're running out multiple lineups. What do you think, Graham?
Yeah, I'm not on Henry. That 30 carry game was the Josh Dobbs game. That was one of the worst NFL football games I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jags fan, so good Lord. I've burned that game from my memory, but that was the Dobbs game. And I'm kind of more with you, Scott. I think we'll see some more Tajay here. They've already been trending that way. 6 and 6 targets back-to-back games. Trailing game script. He's been out-snapping Henry for basically the entirety of the back half of the season. So, yeah, I'm more aligned with you. Let's wrap up this ugly-ish early 1 p.m. slate. Some better games in the afternoon with Falcons at Saints. Obviously, both teams are full go here, but both teams do not control their destiny. The Falcons can only make the playoffs if they beat the Saints and if the Bucs lose as the NFC South champions. The Saints, same thing. They have to win the NFC South and need the Bucs to lose. We're not going to see Alvin Kamara this week, I don't think. He's a game time decision, but he didn't practice all week. Kamara has never played well through injury. We're going to see Jamal Williams get 18, 20 carries here. Kendre Miller still has an ankle injury. He hasn't played since week 9. He's like a ghost that just hasn't returned this season. He might be active this weekend. I really have no idea what's going on there. Falcons have been clean in terms of injuries for basically the entire season. Darren, I'll kick it to you first, man, for your thoughts on this game. I'll be honest, I've kind of just slightly overlooked it. I will say that kind of feels trappy just because this is two teams where, obviously motivation is very clear. I just felt like there's better plays in other games, but help me out with this game here, man.
No, I can't. I feel exactly
yeah, there you go.
So one guy I do after killing everybody, including myself last week, was Olave last week. I had a lot of Jawan. He was one of my favorite tight ends last week. He did really well for me, but the problem was Olave was in those games in those same stacks. But I think Olave is a really good GPP play. Got big upside. Decent matchup. But the game overall, I don't like it. The Falcons, they're running 3 running backs. Like I can't wait to play Bijan next year with a different coach. They're running 2 tight ends with
Yeah.
Pitts, and I don't. Then you got Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill. It's just such a mess. This game. It's like nothing I like about this game at all. Actually, unfortunately,
Dude, we're gonna see
but
more Taysom
Olave
too.
wins it.
Yeah.
Hmm?
We're gonna see more Taysom too, man. His snaps came up last week.
Hmm.
He was dealing with foot and hand injuries, but they're gonna grow Taysom's package for sure this week.
To Juwan's detriment, you think?
I don't think so, man. I think Juwan's just good, but
Yeah,
I think they'll play Taysom in like that quarterback running back role he's been doing, not
Right.
as much at tight end. He did score last week though. Yeah, Falcon side, man, it's really just Bijan, but hilariously, he gets great role, 75% snap rate back-to-back games, and Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson both score the touchdowns.
So
All
bad.
3 of them. That's just
So bad.
hilarious. I think Bijan is the only guy I'm really interested in here. I think Olave is going to be overowned. I really like Robinson as a tournament play, but man, I really don't have much from this game. Scott, do you have any interest in this game in general? Like, I mean, it just feels really simple between Robinson and Olave, and then you can kind of get cute with Juwan again, I think.
Yeah, I think Juwan's legitimately a good play.
Yeah.
Going to be very low owned, but scored a touchdown in 3 straight games, averages 9.5 targets, 18.9 fantasy points per game the last 2 weeks. Snap shares jumped up from 47% to 71% over that span. No Alvin Kamara, I think, helps him boost his target floor. Bijan, I think, is fine. Not overly excited to play him, but Olave is definitely interesting to me. This is a pretty tough matchup on paper, but I don't know. Digging into it, DJ Moore just dominated the Falcons. Olave had 114 yards in just 2 quarters against them in Week 12. Although, granted, excuse me, most of that was against Jeff Okudah, who has since been benched. Obviously, the biggest concern with him is the injury, the fact that he burnt us last week. But he was on a tear right before that, had at least 8 targets in 8 straight games, 90 plus receiving yards in 4 straight healthy games. So, he's someone I think is a really strong value, and a solid play.
Yeah, I think people are going to get back on it. I'm just going to play Calvin Ridley at 6,500.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ridley's
That's
better
where I'm
for
at.
sure.
Yeah,
Shamar Chase, I think, is better.
Yep. Oh, absolutely, Chase. Yeah. I think that'll do it here. All right. Let's go. 425 slate, Bears, Packers. I'm really excited for this game. Bears obviously eliminated from the playoffs, but they're just running really hot, playing really well on defense. They're going to be without Jalen Johnson, though. Big problem for them at corner. Real quick, Packers, I think, are going to have all their dudes back. Christian Watson returned to practice this week. He didn't practice today on Friday, but it didn't seem like it's overly serious. LaFleur was basically just like, yeah, he looked good on Wednesday and Thursday. We gave him the day off. I think Watson plays. I think they're going to get Dontavian Wicks back. Jaden Reed should be good to go. It is wheels up here for these Packers, and it's going to be more condensed. A.J. Dillon is out with a neck injury. Scott, fun game, man. Really fun game. Let's start it with the Justin Fields and DJ Moore side and kind of do a little celebrating because you and I, and especially you've been all over this with DJ Moore and Justin Fields. Do we go back one more time? Last week it was the nuts again. Everybody kind of got off of it and what seemed like a bad matchup, but I gotta say Fields has definitely progressed as a passer in terms of timing, rhythm, anticipation. It looked awesome last week. He's putting together his best tape of his career. And obviously, he is highly, highly motivated, playing for $150 million probably. You'll probably get the Daniel Jones deal. Scott, what do you think about Fields? What do you think about Moore? What do you think about this game?
Yeah, so I think this is tough because Green Bay has historically owned Justin Fields. They've played him really well, really smart. With DJ Moore, you worry about the Jari Alexander shadow. Alexander's really not been anywhere near as dominant this season, and the schematic matchup's great, but he did shut him down in week 1. That said, I was worried about the AJ Terrell shadow last week, which is probably an even tougher matchup, and Moore went nuclear. And you just look at what Moore has done over his Justin Fields' last 8 fully healthy games. 24.5 DraftKings fantasy points per game, eclipsed 22.5 in 6 of those 8. Massive upside. He had a 52-point game, top 3 in first 3 target share. So I think you add it all up, and sure, there's some slight risk, but definitely trend more towards playing him. Him versus Olave is a question. What do you think, Graham? More for 300 more and way lesser ownership?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think Moore's a better play. I think Ridley's a better play. You said Chase is a better play. I'm with you on that. Schematically, this is actually a good matchup for DJ Moore. I'm going to look more into this in the offseason, looking into like single versus 2 high stuff. But against single high coverage, I mean, DJ Moore is averaging 3.1 yards per route run. Packers are predominantly playing 1 high looks nearly 60% of the time. And honestly, I don't think Jerry Alexander matters all that much, especially this season. DJ Moore has just been awesome. His sense of timing and rhythm with Justin Fields is incredible right now. And if Darren, this sticks and we get DJ Moore 5% again, I mean, he's one of the best plays on this slate. What do you think about him? And we'll roll it over to the Packers side too, because they're really tricky with all their dudes back.
Yeah, DJ Moore, just love him this week. 4%, 4 or 5% owned. Packers over the last 6 weeks have been dead last against the slot. He's been playing around 42% snaps out of the slot. No Mooney, Komet. I don't think he'll play. People are talking about Robert Tonyan revenge game. He's in price. I'm not sure if I'm going to go there. This team is behind Fields. I think the whole team wants Fields to come back. He knows he's going to go out there and put on a show to either I don't think he has to prove himself, but this last game, show them that the Packers don't get him. DJ Moore didn't make the Pro Bowl. He had some really good comments about that. He wasn't happy. Like, what the hell do I have to do? So he's pissed at that. 4 or 5%, 30, 40 point upside. Love him. Love this game.
Yeah, I do think I think Komet plays. I was kind of surprised by this too. He's still questionable, but he got back to full practice today, so that is notable for him. But
wow, yeah, he only played 13 snaps last week.
Yeah, I was surprised too that he's going to try and play, but it seems like he will.
It's great.
He's not in play. Yeah, he's not in play. I'm not saying he's in play, but yeah. No Darnell Mooney definitely convinced this thing down for DJ Moore. Packers side, Jaden Reed has just been an absolute baller, man. I mean, just so freaking good. No Jalen Johnson on the outside. Obviously, Christian Watson will probably be on some sort of snap count every time he's come back from a hamstring injury. The following game, he's always been on a snap count, but must-win game. Really, I just think it boosts Jordan Love, who I don't think people are going to play at 6,600 this week. Obviously, he's so hard to stack, Scott, but I do like me some Jaden Reed here. What do you think about Packers, and what do we think about Aaron Jones? We got to have the Aaron Jones talk here at 6,300. He's going to project really well, and I think start to trend up once everybody kind of gets their ownership or their projections updated. Oh, we got 2 mutes. The 2 mute parlay. Dude, you got to start. We got to start giving out 2 mute parlays here.
Jalen Johnson's out. That's big. That's PFF's top graded cornerback this year. Since week 9, Jalen Reed leads all wide receivers in fantasy points per route run. Like you said, he's banged up, and Green Bay plays it very conservatively with their players. Christian Watson, I mean, I was willing to just write him off and take that as one of the biggest L's I've ever had, but he did hit 20 plus fantasy points in his last 2 games prior to injury. He's 4,700. No one's going to play him. I think he's legitimately a good play at that ownership. Jaden Reed, yeah, again, this is what I mean about this slate is there's a lot of these variables that just kind of muddy things up. But just that stat that he leads all wide receivers in fantasy points, he's just been so on fire, and he's definitely mispriced. I'm with you. I think Jordan Love is underrated. Aaron Jones, I can argue that both ways. He's cleared the 3.100 yard bonus in back-to-back games, 6 yards per carry, but no touchdowns. AJ Dillon was getting that role. Granted, Dylan's banged up. It's a great matchup for pass catching running backs. Aaron Jones really hasn't seen a ton of volume in the passing game. But we know he's good at that when called upon, and the coverage shells would dictate that they do go that route. I think he's okay. I think he's fine. I like the Jordan Love low ownership call though.
Yeah, I really like Jordan Love in this spot. Fields is an awesome play, but I Love at like 1% makes no sense to me. Yeah, super condensed game too. I mean, there's obviously some more pieces on the Packers side. If Luke Musgrave doesn't play again, don't think he's going to. Tucker Kraft 3,700. He's just good at football. People are going to try to look to pay down. I think he's in play for love stacks too. And real quick, Khalil Herbert picked up a back injury. Kind of surprising. This will rub Johnny some type of way, but we might get Roschon Johnson and Deontay Foreman backfield here in the spot. I did want to note that. I have no idea what's going on with Herbert. One of the Bears beats said it was a personal issue, but he's been on the injury report with his back thing, so I'm not sure if it's injury related. I'm not sure what's going on, but just for everybody listening, might not have Khalil Herbert in this spot. All right, Broncos Raiders, dead game, one of 4 dead games on Sunday. Broncos have been eliminated from playoff contention, but this outcome does affect Steelers and Jags tiebreakers for whatever that's worth. Antonio Pierce obviously still kind of playing for a job here too. But man, this is a pretty gross game here. Raiders have been getting 337 is the total. Zamir White is mispriced once again, Scott. Josh Jacobs is going to miss another game, $6K. He's a really strong volume-based play. Did get the targets last week. Shout out to Proctor, who was on this. Got 6 targets last week from Aiden O'Connell. Obviously, a little bit of a different game script for Vegas. They got behind quick, but still good for Zamir White in this spot. I'll be honest. I really think he's like the only dude that kind of is in play here for me. Do you have any other different thoughts here, Scott, other than Zamir White?
Jacoby Myers, you can make the case for week 1. He went nuclear while Adams was shut down by Patrick Surtain. Yeah, I'm not really into it. It's just Aiden O'Connell's not really looked in his direction at all.
Yeah.
But that would be the other name that I think stands out. And he's drawing ownership, according to Darren.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's with the Jacoby stuff, Darren?
Oh, is he?
Oh,
I think it was 15% you had earlier in the day.
Oh, hey, maybe I'll go look.
In that case, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, in that case, I was just going to say, I mean, Zamir White with
oh wow, he does, yeah, 14%. He's priced.
Maybe it's because there's nobody in that pocket. That 5K range is just kind of dead this week. I think people are going to be paying up, paying down. Jacoby does project well in that range. That's about it though. I'm not playing Devontae Adams after he exploded last week. We were kind of on that being a good matchup. Yeah, I'm not getting back on it this week. Let's keep it
not bad. Real quick, Sutton's not bad. At 1% owned, he's back. He fully practiced. We saw last week how bad all the Broncos receivers are.
Yeah,
he's had his shot. He had the full thing. But Sutton's been good this year, man. For 1% owned prices.
Yeah, it's all touchdown stuff. I mean, he's 6,400. There's better plays, I think, in that range.
Yeah,
I hear you though. He's their only good receiver. We definitely know it's not Jerry Jeudy. Eagles Giants. Talk about stinky lines. Eagles is stinky at 5. Nick Sirianni said we're going to do whatever we can to win this game, but he said on Monday we're still sitting starters as a consideration here. I will note Sirianni rested starters back in Week 18. And last season, I think he would have rested Hurts if Hurts wasn't hurt. He missed 2 games prior to Week 18 last season with a shoulder injury. Devonta Smith is not going to play. He got rolled up on, sprained his ankle really badly last week. Scott, I'm with you. You kind of kicked it off at the start of the show about Lions and Eagles. I think Eagles are way riskier. They're going to be scoreboard watching here. I've been watching. I mean, the spread has just not moved. It's been 5.5 all week. Obviously, if Eagles have been awful in turn for basically the last month, I still think even given all of it, they would still be like at least touchdown favorites here going into the spot. Darren, what do you think about this game? What's your vibe on Eagles? Because I think that's really where this game starts.
I mean, if we get the vibe that he's going to play AJ Brown by himself with no Devontae
Yeah,
Smith, he's
such
at
a smash spot.
56 targets over the last 5 weeks. It's just like insane. The data suite coverage tool, he's like a top 4 play. He's a top 4 play wide receiver cornerback matchup. He'll get fed. He's playing the Giants. He hasn't been used lately, and I think they want to get him going before the playoffs actually start. He's been griping a little bit. Him and Sierra have been fighting a little bit. So get the squeaky wheel. So if we get it's like the Detroit thing, right? It's like St. Brown. I mean, I'd love to get AJ Brown at 4 or 5%. I mean, look at these guys. You can get 4 or 5%. You can get Brown, DJ Moore, and Evans. Those three right there. I'm super interested in these guys. But once again, we're going to find out what the playing time is. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's in a smash spot if he plays. Most of the game.
Yeah. I mean, the schematic matchup is perfect for him. Giants run a ton of one high, nearly 60%. When they played a couple weeks ago, it was like 58%. So Brown's just been smashing one high. But yeah, Scott, I'm kind of more aligned with you. I think Eagles are sharp. I'm not sure we see a whole lot of Hurts, maybe a quarter, maybe a half here. That's kind of my lean, because if Dallas gets up on Washington, I mean, it's Philly can't do anything. They're the 5 seed. They strike me as a sharp team, and they've probably they've already figured out all of this. So, what do you think, Eagles Giants here, man?
Yeah, the problem with AJ Brown is like he has everything pointing towards an eruption spot. Devonta Smith is out, squeaky wheel narrative. Giants secondary is bad. It's an elite coverage shell matchup. There's a chance he only needs 2 quarters to get there. Maybe there's a chance like Dallas implodes. I don't see that happening, and he gets 4 quarters. So he's in play, but really not. I know probably someone I'm not going to have any exposure to. I just think the likelihood of that happening is pretty low. Yeah, that's kind of it from Eagles side. You can make a case for Goddard too for similar but lesser reasons. Giant side, I think Tyrod's interesting. If Christian McCaffrey stayed healthy, I would have had some really, really deadly Tyrod teams, especially if Tyreek Hill would have done anything. It's a great matchup on paper. I think Darius Slayton's interesting. 90 yards and a touchdown in back-to-back games. Tyrod really more so than any other Giants quarterback, unafraid to push the ball downfield, and he's had success with it. Great matchup for him. I think Wandale, who everyone knows I hate, is vaguely in play. 9 targets last week plus a rushing touchdown. But I'm not going to play him. But I won't mock you for playing him this week.
Yeah, I still think it's Slayton. I still think Slayton's the better play for sure.
It's weird. He's only like 2% owned. Isn't that weird? He's like, strange.
Dude, I haven't considered Wandale all year. Dude has no ceiling. I'd rather play Darren Waller, even though he's overpriced relative to this slate. Scott, if Nick Mullins wasn't in such a good spot, I think Tyrod would be the cash quarterback this week. I think if you don't want to play Mullins, you're scared of him maybe getting benched, maybe he implodes, you can absolutely play Tyrod at 53. That's really it though, man. I think it's a super simple game. Tyrod and Slayton for me. I like Waller a little bit. If you want to get a little weird, he's going to be like 1%. I'm not going to be playing AJ Brown, but for all the reasons we all outlined, I mean, it's such a good spot, man. Such a good spot. We'll keep it moving to a game we know is going to be tight. Seahawks at Cardinals. I was listening to a press conference this afternoon by Jonathan Gannon, and he is not resting his dudes. He was basically like, nah, look, you've seen what we've been doing. This one is no different. We have a lot to play for. Just trying to lead the guys in the locker room. And, I'm very direct about what I'm looking for. These guys are going to be fired up to play here. This line has moved towards the Cardinals all week. It's now 3, 2.5 in some spots. I think Cardinals are sharp here. Good game, 47.5 total, second highest on this slate, not including Bills Dolphins. It's the highest. Yeah, man, fun game. Darren, I'll kick it to you first for your thoughts here on Seahawks Cardinals. What do you think about these quarterbacks? Because I think that's kind of the the tricky point here. I mean, this game is not carrying a ton of ownership, but Kyler 6,400, Geno 6,100, I think is probably going to be what, third, fourth, fifth highest owned quarterbacks on the slate here.
Yeah, I'm more on the running backs actually this week. If Ken Walker's fully healthy going into Sunday, he's the best running back on the slate. If not, it's James Conner's the best running back on the slate. He's looked amazing. Actually shouted in the Discord a few weeks back, just watching him. He looks spry. He looks like he's like lost 5 years. I mean, he looks amazing. He's at 6 targets last couple weeks. They're going to want to play spoiler. Against the Seahawks. Doesn't matter if they're up or down. He's going to get all the goal line carries. He's the full-on bell cow. They could be down 14, 16, 17 points. He's still going to be getting the ball. And the matchup is just like, top 5 on the slate. Ken Walker, same deal. It's the same reason. The Cardinals are like this bottom of like every metric that you can think of. Yards allowed, bottom 5 yards of carries, 50 and plus more. And he's just a stud. Johnny pointed out how good he's looked, so I actually dug in a little bit deeper, and he has. And I forgot somebody came out and said the shoulder thing shouldn't affect him that much. It's not like it's a leg or it's a soft tissue or anything like that. It's like a pain management thing more than anything.
Yeah.
So it's one of the rare times where I'm actually okay playing 2 running backs from the same game. This game is super fun, and for me, it's actually about the running backs.
Nice. Yeah, nice. I do like the call. Walker's shoulder injury is a little concerning to me. They say it's a pain tolerance thing, but he's been dealing with this for a couple weeks now. When he's been on the field, though, he's getting a workhorse role, but Charbonnet is playing a lot in the passing game. That's the concern with him. I love James Conner, though. 6,100 is just way too cheap. That's the thing with Walker, too. Like, I wish he were kind of at that 6K range where he was previous couple weeks, especially on the slate. I think Walker's probably going to end up being lower owned, so it's a great call for GPPs, Darren, but I'm with you on Conner. Scott, I'll kick to you for your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously just looking at the over-under, the implied point total, the stackable upside, you have to say that Geno and Kyler are 2 of the best quarterback plays of the slate, and I think that's probably true. But the running backs are also in smash spots. But even then, like I keep trying to like poke holes in these plays. Kenneth Walker, one of the most game script sensitive running backs in fantasy. Good news, positive game script this week in a best possible matchup. Counter argument is I think he's still seriously banged up.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be shocked if he sees lower than this being much more of a committee backfield than we've become accustomed to. The one good news there is Johnny's right. Zach Charbonnet sucks, and like Walker is so much better. And then on the opposite side, James Conner is also one of the most game script sensitive players in fantasy. So the concern is that they're underdogs this week, but the dude's running hotter than the sun. He's absolutely smashing like he did at the tail end of last season. Hyper efficient, but he, like I said, game script sensitive, and there's a reason beyond that. I think he has like 1 game over 14 receiving yards. And so that's a concern, but the matchup's great. Seattle is giving up the most rushing yards per game, the most yards per carry since week 9. I believe. I'm pretty sure. Or
no,
at least
you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're right.
I got that from you. Okay.
They've been trash, man.
Yeah. Okay. So great matchups for both running backs who are both game script sensitive. Who knows? Maybe it's just a competitive game and both teams lean run heavy. I will say I do like Conner significantly more than Walker. Just really good upside there.
Yeah.
But this game has shootout potential. 2 bad secondaries. So I could see the passing game options hitting. You could go with Metcalf at 7,200, Tyler Lockett all the way down at 5,600. But I'll just say, like, I think the matchup for the wide receivers is a little overstated. You're not playing JSN, who has no upside. and has the much tougher matchup. But Metcalf has reached 20.5 DK only once this year. And then Tyler Lockett has cleared that mark 3 times, but with a high of just 25.9, and he averaged 8.8 DraftKings fantasy points per game across his other 13 games. These guys kind of suck this year. And like, no one's saying that, but they really do kind of suck. Part of that is JSN being the reliable number 3. And so I'm okay. I'm okay fading them. And then Arizona's side, like I'm a big Greg Dortch guy, but he's not as productive as he was last year under the Cliff Kingsbury scheme. Trey McBride is in a nut spot. Great schematic matchup, great on paper matchup. And the dude's a baller, but he's also, kind of like Evan Ingram's been more productive over the last, X amount of weeks. Ultimately, this is definitely one of the better game stacks of the week. Just the over under, the shootout spread, the matchups. But it really wouldn't shock me if scoring is far more spread out and no one really has the spike week you needed. But I don't know. This one kind of, I just kept going back and forth on every single guy. And this is, again, a testament to kind of why I hate this slate.
Yeah, I hear you. I will say, just in the afternoon window, looking at these 2 quarterbacks that, obviously both are full go. I like Fields and Love more than Kyler and Geno. I think Kyler, though, is straight up a better play than Geno 6,400.
That's spicy.
Yeah, I love him with Trey McBride, man. This matchup is so good for McBride. Seattle plays more zone coverage than any team in the league, and Trey McBride is just shredding zone, like 2.5 yards per route run, nearly 30% target share. He's been slightly worse against man coverage, but he's just killing zone. So Kyler with Trey plus one of the Seahawks receivers is really strong in my opinion. I will say schematically, DK Metcalf is actually 3rd on the team. I had to triple check this. 3rd on the team in target share against 2 high looks, and Arizona is running 2 high, basically higher than any rate in the NFL. So this does look like a Lockett game. I think people are kind of on that though. Ownership is definitely projecting that. Lockett's 5,600. He's 1,600 cheaper. Yeah, fun game though. Darren, do you have a strong Metcalf versus Lockett JSN take here?
It's Metcalf for me. He's playing off emotion. I think I think it's the most emotional I've ever seen him in the last few years playing.
Hopefully he doesn't get kicked out of this game.
Yeah. But like they had the matchup point show was great, and I guess the Cardinals I forgot the name of the safety. He's playing cornerback, and they're mixing and matching the cornerbacks in the back. And if you're mixing and matching and don't know who to play at cornerback against DK Metcalf, you're going to be in trouble. I don't care what kind of switch you play.
I mean, they play. That's why they're playing too high, though, is they just know they have nothing at corner, and they're just rolling their safeties back and just saying, "Hey, you're not going to beat us deep." And that's why AJ Brown was held to 4 for 50 last week.
But I'll prefer Metcalf at the ownership over Lockett.
Fair enough. Yeah, the ownership is the take for Metcalf for sure. All right, Chiefs Chargers here. Chargers getting 3.5. This actually moved through 3, kind of a key number. 35 is the total. This is going to be the backup fest. Easton Stick versus Blaine Gabbert, baby. Let's go. Kansas City is not going to have Rashee Rice. They're not going to have Kadarius Toney. Why would they need him anyway? They're not going to have Pacheco. They're going to set Chris Jones probably. So it's going to be a lot of backups for Chiefs. Chargers have been dead since, November. Josh Palmer will be back, though. A little bit of a boost there for the Chargers in the final game of the season here, Scott. We got to have the Noah Gray conversation, the Richie James conversation here. What do you think about Chiefs? I'm kind of more with you.
I know. The Richie James conversation.
Oh, yeah, baby. We got
it's Justin Ross week. I've been waiting 7 years for this moment. Are you kidding me? 0% own Justin Ross. Let's fucking go. Richie James, poor man's Wan'Dale Robinson. Fuck that. Give me Justin Ross, who was supposed to be a top 5 draft pick, the next Larry Fitzgerald. So that's where I'm going. I do not tail me on that. I am a lunatic. I am out of my mind. I need to be on serious medication, but I'm going to have at least one Justin Ross lineup for sure.
I had to troll you about Richie James because
I appreciate it.
I knew
People are
you-
playing. People are excited to play Richie James.
I'm not excited to play him. I think he's a better player than Justin Ross. I just had to review over Ross.
Oh, okay. All right.
Ross is completely in play too, and especially at ownership. If people are going to play Richie James at like 8-10%, Darren, I'm with Scott on Justin Ross. That's fine. This game is absolute ass though. Oh my god. I mean, this is going to be a preseason game. You want to talk about a preseason field game? This is it. I don't think we're going to see a ton of Austin Eckler. They'll probably play a little more Isaiah Spiller in this spot. It'll be LaMichael Pirine and Deneric Pierce in the Prince in the backfield here for the Chiefs. I actually think CEH is not even going to play. Is he?
So bad.
Is he ruled out? Actually don't know, but yeah, Chiefs Chargers. Darren, what do you think, man?
Wait, if he's ruled out, I have to do a LaMichael Pirine write up.
Let me see here.
I don't think he is. But
he's
no
not
great.
no, never mind. He's not on the injury report. I was like, where the hell did he go? I was just looking at this. Now he's going to play.
Noah Gray week 1. No Travis Kelce. 88% snap share, 78% route share. Team high 5 targets.
I actually think Noah Gray might be good too. Like legit good.
Top 7 matchup. Yeah, and because Travis Kelce is 2.5 weeks away from retirement. I think they're going to give him like a featured look, and we know the tight end position is important to this offense. So I think he's the best min price tight end, but it really wouldn't surprise me if Davis Allen or Johnny Munt or Harrison Bryant had the bigger score. What I always tell people, but never follow that advice, is definitely mix up your tight end exposure. And that's what you should be doing. Although I never do it. I don't know why. But that's what you should do.
Well, you go all in and you win the red zone for 25K. That's what happens.
Yeah. And then every other week it's like, oh, if I just played the other tight end I liked.
Well, that's DFS, man. That is DFS in a nutshell. I'm with you, though. I do lean Noah Gray. It is really close, though. I think a lot of them project really well. I think Johnny Munt, though, is probably the one who sticks out as one guy who probably will go a little under-owned. I think he's a really strong play, too. But, yeah, I'm more with you on Noah Gray. I think that'll cover this, Darren. You got any other thoughts in this game?
Everett's not bad for Chargers.
Yeah, he flopped so hard last week as chalk, but he's
little flop lag.
The targets have been there, man. He just stinks. he's so bad. 8 targets in 4 straight games, but yeah. All right, Rams, Niners. Both these teams are going to be resting guys here. Rams are locked in to the 6 or 7 seeds, since Dallas or Philly will be the 5. So it'll be Carson Wentz under center. We're not going to get Cooper Kupp. We're not going to get Kyron Williams. Aaron Donald and Ernest Jones are not going to play on the defensive side of the ball. We will see a little bit of Puka Nacua, who's trying to like put the hammer in, the nail in on some fantastic rookie records. He needs 4 catches for 29 yards to set the receptions and yards record. Niners side, obviously, they've already locked up the 1 seed. Purdy and McCaffrey won't play. We're not going to see a whole lot of Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk, maybe a drive or 2. It's going to be the Sam Darnold show, baby, with Ronnie Bell and Ronnie Rivers. A lot of Ronnie action in this game here. Darren, pick your favorite Ronnie. I actually think Ronnie Rivers is legitimately interesting. I'll just make my case real quick. Sorry, I know I kicked it to you, but I brought over Ronnie Rivers. I think Sean McVay actually likes this guy. I just was going to say that Zach Evans stinks. Ron Rivers was Kyron Williams' backup before he got hurt. I think he's a really interesting play. But what do you think about this game? What do you think about the Ronnie action? Niners Rams here, Darren.
I am not on Ronnie Rivers. I tracked him the last couple years in preseason. Never done anything. He's averaged 3.5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
He's slow. He's just a jag. He's nothing special. I don't trust McVay. I can see Freeman coming in.
See, I actually do trust McVay. I do trust McVay. Like, I actually think when he says something, like, he actually kind of means it, unless it's about Cam Akers. I think that's kind of the case with McVay. Like,
I don't trust
this backfield. They could get a look at Zach Evans. He hasn't played all year. So there's
Right.
absolutely that case.
Yeah, Evans is
Um,
there. And then Freeman could get there in the goal line as far as that goes. On top of as far as that goes,
yeah,
I love Davis Allen as a tight end this week. When he got week, where was it? It was week 14. He ran over 6% of the routes. He had 15 TK points. And from reading and looking at some of the notes on the game, looks like they're gonna keep this game super vanilla. Because they'll end up playing each other. It looks like in the playoffs. So um, I don't think they're gonna do anything crazy out of the box type thing. And I got another 2,500 tight end. I think he's. I don't know if he. I'm trying to think he's my favorite. My favorite 25. I know, based on ownership, obviously Noah Gray's probably the best, but it's close between him and Harrison Bryant for me. I think it's probably Bryant because the matchup is just so freaking good,
yeah,
and they have nobody else really to throw to.
yeah. My lean is Gray, Bryant, Allen in terms of rankings, but like I've been saying all show, they project like within 1 point of each other.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Scott, what do you think about this Niners backfield, Rams backfield? Ron Rivers is 4K. Elijah Mitchell will work in for the Niners, but Jordan Mason 4,600 is going to get some run too. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think Jordan Mason's going to be the most popular running back on the slate.
Nice. Yeah.
And I don't really disagree with it. Elijah Mitchell, often injured, was the clear RB2 last week. I think they take it easy on him. Mason gets the workhorse role against the Rams backups. So really strong value, good upside there. Ronnie Rivers, I think there's a little bit more certainty. Maybe Royce Freeman mixes in a little bit more. And then, I do like Ronnie Bell quite a bit. It's just like one of these guys I think has to smash, and he's just been easily the most productive of the group. He's also he also scored a touchdown with Sam Darnold, which I think is important. And then Davis Allen, he was pretty productive in that one game that Tyler Higbee left early, 74% route share, caught 4 or 5 targets for 50 yards and a score. Carson Wentz, we know, loves tight ends. And so Puka is going to get his 4 catches, 30 yards, and he won't have anyone else.
Yeah, he's going to bounce after that. Davis Allen's a strong play for sure. This game is interesting because you're right. Like I think in terms of optimals, like Ronnie Bell, Davis Allen, Jordan May, like these guys are going to really pop in all of them. And I think one of them is going to be like, one of these linchpin type of guys. I lean towards Ronnie Bell, honestly, at 3,200. I think he might be the only guy who's actually good in this receiver group this weekend. Chris Conley's been on the roster all year, but he stinks. And Willie Snead, old friend Willie Snead's going to get another run here. I think that'll do it for this game. Shall we close it with Cowboys Commanders? Dallas getting 13, total is 47. Dallas can win the NFC East with a win. If the Eagles lose, Dallas will also win the NFC East here. So obviously, Cowboys going to be highly, highly motivated. If they smash, obviously they'll take their foot off the gas. Washington did play pretty tight last week to San Francisco. I was a little surprised, especially missing 2 corners. Ron Rivera got his guys ready. The way bigger concern in this game is Sam Howell melts down again. I mean, he has been one of the worst quarterbacks in football. I'm way more concerned about Howell melting down in this spot than Commanders resting starters. CeeDee Lamb, though, Scott, man, I mean, it's gonna be deciding between him and Justin Jefferson. You're going to be able to fit him. Lamb versus Jefferson, to me, is pretty clearly Lamb. I don't think ownership is shaking out that way. What do you think about Dak, Lamb, and the boys here, Scott? Uh-oh. The old double mute.
Oh, my goodness.
It. Oh,
wow. Look at Darren. Hasn't done it once. Good for you, Darren.
My hands are crossed. I'm not moving them. It's locked. I got handcuffs on.
I like that. Since week 6, Lamb averages 27.4 DraftKings fantasy points per game. That's 2.6 more than any other player, 4.7 more than any other wide receiver, 5.9 more than any slate eligible wide receiver. He's hit 16.5 DK in all 11 of these games. He gets the nuts matchup. Commanders defense giving up the most schedule adjusted to slot wide receivers. Yeah, I think he's a must. You can poke holes in it where it's like, okay, sure, the Cowboys have this massive 30-point total, but they could get there with a Pollard touchdown, a pick six, and then
Pollard
from there,
touchdown? I'm sorry. Tony Pollard scoring touchdown. What is this game script you've dripped up in your head, man?
Something
Tony
like that.
Pollard
And then
scoring
just,
touchdowns?
only throw 25 times in this game. I think still like Dak's my favorite GPP quarterback. I think Lamb is a must. If you're playing Prescott, you're just going to chase a touchdown with Jake Ferguson or Brandon Cooks. Cooks did explode in this matchup earlier in the season. And I'll be honest, I like Pollard quite a bit. I know he stinks. I know he's been one of the biggest busts in DFS and season long this year, but this might just be an impossible to fail matchup. Since week 9, the Commanders are giving up a league high 32.8 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs, including a season high 22.3 to Pollard in week 12. And so I just think this defense is so bad. It's really just that Dallas can do whatever they want. And it wouldn't shock me if they wanted Pollard to end on a high note. So yeah, I think he's a reluctantly, I think he's a pretty good play.
Yeah, no, he is. I hate it too. I'm sick of Tony Pollard, man, because like I had so many good seasonal teams that were just like smash pick after smash pick, and then Pollard in the second round just anchoring down the team. I'm with you though. 6,500 is a good price for him. It's just they're going to get Rico Dowdle back. God help us. Rico Dowdle's definitely scoring a touchdown this week.
Oh, of course.
It's happening. Commander side, man, I got to be honest. I don't have a whole lot of interest, Aaron. They're definitely at risk to sit some starters. I think Terry McLaurin will play. McLaurin just strikes me as a guy who's going to play no matter what. But he does not project overly well. We haven't been on McLaurin really all year. This backfield's going to be split again with Robinson and Gibson. Got any interest in Commanders?
Zero. I X'd them all out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's the sharp call. On that note, guys, great show. Hour and 15 minutes of week 18 game by game action. This is fantastic. Scott brought the goods. Darren brought the goods. Yeah, good stuff. Guys, good luck in week 18. Definitely more aligned with Scott, especially after going through the slate. Don't go all in on this slate. It is ugly. There's going to be some ugly teams out there winning tournaments this weekend. But yeah, good luck in all of your tournaments. If we don't win a tournament this weekend, I hope you guys do. We will see you at the top of the leaderboards. For Thomas behind the glass, I'm Graham. Catch you guys next week.